911.
Yes, hi. We believe there may be a shooting.
Unfortunately, that's not a totally uncommon call for us to have.
But nothing about this day in San Bernardino, California would be routine.
There's people with machine guns, with ARs, that are shooting up at my work. I work at Inland Regional Center 136.
We were getting updates that it was now possibly shots fired.
They opened the door and they just started shooting inside the room.
Then it was updated to man with a gun and then possibly an active shooter.
We have an active shooter here.
Okay, ma'am, listen to me. Take a deep breath. Have you seen the person with the gun?
Yeah, they're there. They're fucking dressed in black.
Okay, listen. Okay, listen. I know, ma'am. We're on the way. Okay, is he still shooting?
Oh, my God.
The calls were coming from a conference center in San Bernardino, the Inland Regional Center, the IRC. County Health Department employees had gathered for a training session with a holiday lunch to follow.
Inside the room itself at the Inland Regional Center, there was a Christmas tree, there were decorations, and you could clearly see from pictures inside that room that there was somewhat of a festive atmosphere.
At 10:53, one of the county employees, Syed Farouk, left the room. The shooting began 5 minutes later.
Did you see people with the guns?
Yeah, they're wearing all black.
Can you see them anymore?
No. I'm on the floor.
Okay, stay on the floor.
Is he still shooting?
I don't know.
Okay, how many rounds did he fire?
Oh, my God, 1,000,000.
Lieutenant Mike Madden, an administrative officer in an unmarked car, had pulled over in a Target parking lot to take a personal phone call when the 911 dispatcher started to broadcast.
Subject is still inside the business, 1365 South Waterman. It's in building number 3. Possible active shooter.
Being primarily a desk jockey for the last few years, I have never responded on an actual active shooter. This would have been a first in my 25-year career.
Madden's call sign is Lincoln 3.
Lincoln 3, I will be going 97 on the south side. I need 3 more units, 97 my location.
He was less than a mile away.
I noticed that I was driving faster and faster as I was getting closer. I realized, I looked around, I don't see any other cops here. I think I'm the first one here. I quickly got out of the car because I didn't want to be a sitting duck if in fact I was out in a vulnerable position.
What were you seeing?
I saw a lot of people running out the front.
Lincoln 3.
Go ahead.
Now we have 2 suspects, both dressed in black, and the inside of the business on the south side is what we're being told.
Copy on the south side of the business on the interior. Have our Lincoln 3, do you have anybody with you?
Negative. I need 2 more units with me for an entry team. We have an active shooter. We need an entry team now.
Within 45 seconds, Madden and 3 other officers were ready to make entry. But Madden had only a handgun and left his bulletproof vest in the trunk.
And you went in without a vest and just your handgun.
I'm not the smartest guy ever.
Lincoln 3, I have 4 officers with me now for an entry.
Copy from the south side, making entry.
Making entry through the back door east side.
Copy on the back door east side.
We have 2 down.
I copy 2 down.
It was worse inside.
The people yelling, screaming, the fire alarm going off was very loud.
The sound of the water in there, the amount of commotion in the room with people trying to get out of the building.
The smell was overwhelming. It's like your senses just kicked up to 10.
As the first officers inside, their active shooter training dictated they only focus on finding the shooters still believed to be in the building.
We had every reason to believe that the shooters had moved on further into the building. So our goal as the initial entry team had to be locating them and stopping them.
San Bernardino police officer Sean Sandoval was in the first team to go in. His instructions, find the shooter, meaning he could not stop to help the wounded.
I made eye contact with some, and the looks on the victims' faces, you can't describe. Just the mass devastation, the need for help as I looked at you when you entered that room. There was screams, cries, and we pushed on and kept moving forward into that building in search of that threat.
That must have been very hard.
And the most difficult thing I've ever done in my life. Knowing that some were alive when you entered, And when you came back, they were no longer living. So it left a huge burden, almost a burden of guilt, that we didn't help them and they didn't survive.
Clearly it still bothers you a year later.
There's not one day that goes by that I don't think about it.
But right behind were other officers that could stop and help, including County Probation Officer Nate Scarano.
When I encountered that first group of people, it literally sucked the air out of my body. There was this river of blood coming out of the conference room onto the sidewalk, onto the parking pavement area. And with all the noise, including the fire alarm going off, I heard a faint voice say, "Help me, I'm gonna die." That was the second time I lost my air. I couldn't breathe. I looked down, and next to my leg, in front of the doors of the conference room, is this beautiful young lady, severely wounded.
I was begging, please help me, please help me.
And she proceeds to tell me that she had been shot, very nonchalant, very catatonic-like. She tells me where she had been shot. She tells me that she's going to die and not to let her die.
People were moaning all around me, and I just said, please come here, help me. Dead bodies all around.
I looked at her, I looked up at the conference room, I looked down at her and I said, "You're not gonna die today."
He stayed and 32-year-old Amanda Gaspard lived, even though she had lost half her blood and was near death. Today, still in pain and recovery, she wants to send this message to Officer Scarano and the other first responders.
You are one of God's angels here on earth. You know, I believe I have guardian angels, but that day, God used all those first responders to get in there and to get us out so that we are still alive today.
Now, officers from across the region were responding, dealing with the 36 people who had been shot.
That suspect possibly, all three of them fled in a black SUV.
And still searching for the killers.
The suspects have fled, potentially in a dark-colored SUV.
Sometimes you find the shooter there. Sometimes the shooter takes their own life after the initial attack. That was not the case here.
The shooters in the black SUV had made a clean getaway, seen on this traffic surveillance video, making a U-turn and then driving at a normal speed right by police cars in the opposite lanes, which were rushing to the scene.
There's a sense of urgency initially, not knowing, are there more out there and are there follow-on attacks being planned?
The suspect has on a mask and it's a black SUV.
Is there another target? Is there a potential that these suspects are going to continue driving around the city of San Bernardino or move to another location?
I was in touch with the LAPD chief at that time because he was very concerned. Are they coming into my city?
Haven and Arrow, 3 males in a black SUV.
This isn't normal. Suspects like this don't normally try to escape. And so then your mind goes to, where are they? And we've got to find them. And time is of the essence.